So why don't you start by introducing yourself? Just say your name, your title, and the organization that you're here representing today.
So my name is Martin Gershon.
Mm-hmm.
I am the managing partner of
Mm-hmm.
Endeavor Life Sciences Funds and Venture Studio. And I'm also the chief investment officer. And it's a fund that is dedicated to investing in mission-driven healthcare and life science companies. We're based out of Switzerland, but offices here in New York as well.
That's great. Well, Martin, thank you so much for joining
It's
us
my
today.
pleasure.
So I understand that this is your first HITLAB summit. Am I
It is,
correct?
yeah.
So what do you want to get out of this summit? What are your goals, and how do you think it'll benefit you and the other people who are here attending?
Well, the mission really of Endeavor Funds, we're on our second fund now, and our first venture studio is to collaborate with amazing entrepreneurs, CEO, founders, and collaboration partners across industry. And so we have set up a system which is a community-based open source ecosystem, which we call Better Health, and which we talk about every Tuesday at noon with our webinar, which then really, I think, brings people who are here in this conference in touch with amazing CEO entrepreneurs. So for me, what Stan and the team here are doing at HITLAB is just outstanding in terms of opening collaboration channels. And so that's really why I'm here, is to meet people who are like-minded. Dr. Berger, for example, who is the CEO of Downstate, he was talking about one of the subjects that we're keenly interested in, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, equity, inclusion for us is important because of the incredible access gap. And the healthcare gap means the patients are not receiving novel therapies, they're not getting into clinical trials. And for us, we look for companies that are focused in on solving these big systemic problems. So it's exciting to be here to hear Dr. Berger talk, because one of the companies that we're very, very focused on moving forward is called Clinical Trial Hero. I'm the chair of the board, and the CEO is an amazing physician named Dr. Joshi, who was raised in Africa. He's of Indian origin. He immigrated to Canada. He unfortunately got cancer. He is a physician, and he felt a passionate need to make a decision between taking a cancer drug that probably would have made him sterile versus enrolling in a clinical trial for a novel alternative. And he chose the clinical trial. He now has a beautiful baby girl. He is cured of cancer, and he is mission driven to be able to deliver a message to diverse communities that access to care through clinical trials is open for you. And so he started this company which drives and accelerates the engagement, the enrollment, and retention of diverse patients into clinical trials. So those are the kind of things we make an investment in our venture studio, and then we drive that through the pipeline to our venture fund.
Yeah. Wow, that's such an inspiring story. And it's incredible what you guys are doing, your mission of DEI. I really am just so inspired by that. I was wondering if you could go into a little bit of the specifics about how you guys are encouraging accessibility within digital health and the healthcare market in general, and how you are headmanning that and serving as a representative for other companies to be doing the same and investing in companies similar to yours.
Yeah, so digital health has so many tributaries off of the main river. So we're interested in DEI in a number of different ways. One of them is we are strong supporters of women CEOs and CEOs of color, but we're also very keen on the ability to drive products quickly, efficiently into the market, which we think also speaks to access. So companies that are doing things that are using AI technology, like InSilico, we're strong supporters of. InSilico was the first company that used AI completely throughout the system to target, to validate, and to move into commercialization a new drug in 30 months. So these are the kind of companies that we want to get involved with early. We are working with a number of early stage companies that are in the drug development space, in the rare disease therapeutic space in particular, using genomics. So for us, the ability to access care is dependent upon a number of different issues. Some of them are socioeconomic, some of them on the actual production side. And the cost and the economics surrounding that delivery system is part of what we're interested in. So we look at ways to improve electronic healthcare records with a seamless integration into diagnostics and therapeutics. We had a company on the webinar this afternoon, which is called Miko, which has developed a Miko score. And this Miko score uses their proprietary biomarker to look at breast cancer and the microenvironment in the tumor to identify ways that generic drugs can actually impact the tumor.
Wow.
And they look at it in a very specific way, looking at fibrosis. So these are the novel things that very kind of mission-driven CEOs, Dr. Watson is the CEO of this company. He has a strong academic background. He is mission-driven, and we support this notion of combining science with great passion to drive change in outcomes. And we expect over the next several years that the treatment algorithms for breast cancer in particular are going to be significantly impacted by the Miko score.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would be completely amiss of me to not ask an immunologist a question about the pandemic. But I was wondering, because you have such a unique perspective, being a scientist and a businessman, how have you seen the healthcare industry change over this period of time, and what do you see continuing to change in the future?
Oh, it's such a great question. I mean, there's been about $100 billion invested by big tech companies over the past few years. For us, it's a game changer in terms of the liquidity that's being put into the market. Google Ventures is now 55% healthcare. Amazon obviously has made amazing investments, in One Medical, in PillPack. They're taking over the e-pharmacy space and the primary care space. Microsoft spent almost $20 billion on Nuance. Now they're partnering with Google, where Google Epic and Microsoft Nuance are really going to dominate the electronic healthcare record space. So for us, it's about identifying liquidity and demand. The liquidity is hugely pushed by big tech companies. And now, because of that incredible deep pocket, quick decision making, and forceful entry over the past few years into healthcare, the follow-on from that, in a big macro sense, is corporate accelerators. So we work at Endeavor with Capgemini, who partners with Sanofi, Generali, and Orange in an accelerator out of Paris called Future for Care. To us, we look at things from a macro perspective to see where the channels are between demand and liquidity. And now what we see is, on the liquidity side, the huge tech investments are now driving large biopharma to become digital healthcare companies. And they're partnering now with unusual partners, and they're writing very large, $100, $200, $300 million checks for early stage companies. Sanofi has invested $1.2 billion over the past 2 years in 80 digital health companies. So we think that there is now this secular growth market for the next 10 to 14 years. And we are all in on the Endeavor side. We're looking at about 100 to 200 investments in the Venture Studio, as well as the Venture 2 fund. So we're super excited about the next decade plus.
That's incredible. Well, Martin, thank you so much for telling me all about Endeavor and your amazing insights. I really appreciate it.
It's
It was
real
a pleasure
pleasure
talking to you.
Thank you so
you
much.
so much.